Are you seriously just gonna walk past him like he doesn't exist? Captain Malcolm Reed's voice echoed through the bustling airport terminal, his fists clenched, eyes blazing with fury. Passengers stopped in their tracks, whispering and staring. He pointed at the small, fragile boy huddled in the corner, clutching his worn-out backpack like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. That kid has been sitting there for hours, staring at the floor, crying his heart out, and you all just ignore him. The ground staff exchanged nervous glances, unsure how to respond. One of them finally mustered the courage to speak. "Sir, it's not our responsibility." "Not your responsibility?" Malcolm roared, stepping closer, his jaw tight and his voice trembling with rage. "He's just a kid, alone, scared, and you're telling me no one gives a damn?" He knelt beside the boy, his voice softening just enough to be comforting. "Hey, buddy, where's your family? Who brought you here?" The boy didn't answer, just tightened his grip on the ticket in his hand. Malcolm carefully took it, eyes widening as he read the destination. His heart pounded like a war drum. "Wait, this ticket. Why does it say one way to nowhere?" The ground staff froze, faces pale as Malcolm demanded answers. Who put him on this flight? What the hell is going on? Who abandoned this boy? Why is no one helping? And what's the dark secret behind that ticket? The busy airport terminal was a swirling chaos of motion and sound. Travelers rushed past each other, dragging wheeled suitcases behind them, voices echoing off the high, glass-paneled ceilings. The smell of overpriced coffee and fast food hung in the air, mingling with the faint scent of jet fuel that seeped in through automatic doors. Bright, fluorescent lights buzzed relentlessly, casting a harsh glow over the crowds. Standing amidst this chaos was Captain Malcolm Reed, his tall, muscular frame almost imposing as he stood rigid and alert. His skin was a warm, rich brown, his jaw set in a determined line. His military uniform was crisp, the medals on his chest gleaming under the terminal lights, and his dark, calculating eyes scanned the area with practiced precision. The slight furrow between his eyebrows betrayed his discomfort, his lips pressed into a tight line. He was a man used to control, to order, but this place was anything but controlled. Beside him, his wife Angela clutched their young daughter Sophie's hand, her eyes darting around nervously. Angela was beautiful in a graceful, effortless way, her smooth, dark skin and bright, curious eyes contrasting with Malcolm's stern demeanor. Sophie, only 6 years old, had her father's fierce stare, but her mother's warm, inviting smile. She twirled a small stuffed bear between her fingers, humming softly to herself, oblivious to the tension in the air. Malcolm glanced at Angela, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "It's gonna be fine," he assured her, squeezing her shoulder gently. Angela gave a weak nod, though the worry remained etched into her features. "You know I hate flying," she whispered. "Hey," Malcolm said, his tone softening. "I've flown worse. You're safe with me. Always." Just as he leaned down to kiss her forehead, a loud, distressed scream echoed through the terminal. People turned, whispering in confusion. Malcolm's military instincts kicked in instantly. He scanned the area, eyes narrowing, until he spotted the source. A young boy, no older than 10, crouched against a pillar, his body trembling as he sobbed uncontrollably. Angela frowned. "Malcolm, look at him." "Yeah, I see." He hesitated, unsure if he should get involved, but Sophie tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, he's sad. Can we help him?" Malcolm sighed, his protective nature battling with his sense of duty. He finally approached the boy, kneeling down to get on his level. "Hey there, buddy," Malcolm said gently. "Are you lost?" The boy didn't respond, just hugged his knees tighter, shaking his head. Angela stepped closer, her maternal instincts flaring. "Sweetheart, where are your parents?" Still no answer. A nearby gate agent approached, her face painted with forced professionalism. "Sir, is there a problem?" Malcolm shot her a pointed glare. Yeah, there is. This kid is here alone. Why isn't anyone helping him? The agent shifted uncomfortably. I don't know, sir. He's been here for hours. Security asked him questions, but he didn't respond. Malcolm looked back at the boy, whose face was buried between his knees. He noticed a crumpled plane ticket lying on the floor next to him. Picking it up, his heart skipped a beat when he read the destination. One way to nowhere. Confusion flashed across his face. He glanced at Angela, who looked equally bewildered. One way to nowhere? That doesn't make any sense, Angela murmured. Just then, another man approached. Officer Darren Webb, airport security. He was tall and burly, with an air of authority that didn't sit right with Malcolm. "What's going on here?" Darren demanded, crossing his arms. "This boy is alone," Malcolm replied sharply. "And this ticket, it doesn't even have a valid destination. What kind of operation are you running here?" Darren snatched the ticket, eyes narrowing. "Sir, we've already checked him out. He's fine. Probably just some runaway." Malcolm bristled, stepping forward until he was almost nose to nose with Darren. "Fine? He's a child. You just left him here?" Darren didn't back down. "Not my problem. If he ain't talking, we can't do much." Malcolm's hands clenched into fists, his jaw taut. "You're telling me you'd just ignore a scared kid because it's inconvenient? That's not how this works." Angela, sensing the escalating tension, put a hand on Malcolm's arm. "Baby, calm down," she whispered. But Malcolm was relentless. "Somebody dropped him here, and you're telling me no one's even tried to figure out who or why? What if he's in danger? What if someone's out there looking for him right now?" Darren scoffed. "Look, Captain, I get that you're used to playing hero, but this is just a kid with a fake ticket, not our concern." Malcolm took a deep, steadying breath, then knelt back down to the boy's level. He softened his tone. "Hey, buddy, I'm Malcolm. Can you tell me your name?" The boy hesitated before whispering, "Jaden." Malcolm smiled gently. "Nice to meet you, Jaden. Who brought you here?" Jaden's eyes filled with fresh tears. "A man. He told me to wait, said my mom would come get me, but she never came." The words hit Malcolm like a punch to the gut. He squeezed Jaden's shoulder reassuringly. "It's okay, kid. You're safe now. We'll figure this out." He looked back at Darren, determination burning in his eyes. "You're not just leaving him here. Not on my watch." A tense silence hung between them before Darren huffed and stomped off, muttering curses under his breath. Angela knelt beside Malcolm, stroking Jaden's hair gently. "We can't just leave him," she whispered. Malcolm nodded, his mind racing. "No, we're not. We're taking him with us, at least until we figure out what's going on." As they sat with Jaden, trying to comfort him, Malcolm couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that something far darker was at play. That ticket, that destination, and the eerie sense that someone, somewhere, was watching their every move. And in the shadows of the bustling terminal, a figure with cold, calculating eyes watched the scene unfold, a sinister smile creeping across his face. Malcolm's instincts were screaming at him. Something about this whole situation felt off. He couldn't ignore it. As they sat on the uncomfortable metal bench near Gate 14, he kept glancing over his shoulder, scanning the crowd. Jaden was nestled between him and Angela, clutching his stuffed bear with trembling hands. Sophie, still innocently unaware of the tension, offered Jaden one of her crayons and a piece of paper from her drawing pad. Angela leaned closer to Malcolm, her voice barely above a whisper. "This isn't right," she said. "Who leaves a kid at an airport with a fake ticket? And why is security so quick to dismiss it?" Malcolm shook his head, trying to make sense of it. "I don't know, but I'm not leaving him. Whatever's going on, that officer didn't seem interested in helping. Something's not adding up." Suddenly, Jaden looked up at Malcolm, his big, teary eyes full of fear. "They're coming back," he whispered. Malcolm tensed, following the boy's gaze. Sure enough, Officer Darren was returning, with 2 more uniformed guards flanking him. Darren's face was a mask of indifference, but there was a glint of something more dangerous in his eyes. "All right, enough babysitting," Darren barked. "Hand the kid over." "We're calling social services." Malcolm stood, his presence imposing. "Social services? You didn't seem interested in helping before. Why the sudden change of heart?" Darren scoffed. "Orders from above. We'll take it from here." Angela grabbed Malcolm's arm, tension etched on her face. "This doesn't feel right," she muttered. Malcolm nodded subtly. "Yeah, I know." He knelt in front of Jaden, keeping his voice calm despite the rising anger boiling inside him. "Hey, buddy," he whispered. "Do you recognize any of these men?" Jaden's lips quivered, and he gave the slightest nod. "That one," he whispered, pointing to one of the guards behind Darren. "He was with the man who brought me here." Malcolm's jaw tightened, fury bubbling under his controlled exterior. He rose to his full height, glaring at Darren. "You care to explain that?" Darren's eyes flashed, but his face remained stony. "Sir, step aside. You're interfering with official business." Malcolm didn't budge. "Not until you explain why one of your men is connected to this boy's abandonment." The guard Darren brought him to stay quiet. "Back off, Captain," Darren growled. "You're out of your jurisdiction." "Funny," Malcolm sneered. "Last I checked, protecting a child wasn't limited by jurisdiction." Sensing the confrontation escalating, Angela pulled out her phone and discreetly started recording. Malcolm noticed and gave her a subtle nod of approval. Darren reached for Jaden, but Malcolm blocked him. "Touch him, and you'll regret it," he warned, voice low and lethal. Darren hesitated, realizing Malcolm wasn't bluffing. Finally, he turned on his heel, muttering something to his men before they retreated, but not without a glare that promised retribution. Malcolm exhaled a shaky breath, his hands still balled into fists. Angela stopped recording, her face pale. "Malcolm," she whispered, "what the hell is going on?" He didn't have an answer. All he knew was that something dark was happening, and he was right in the middle of it. The rest of the day was tense. Malcolm kept Jaden close, never letting him out of sight. He couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, his instincts screaming at him to keep moving. When Angela took Sophie to get some snacks, Malcolm noticed a man in a black trench coat lingering near the gate entrance, pretending to read a newspaper. His eyes, though, kept darting their way. "You see him?" Malcolm muttered to Jaden. Jaden barely nodded. "He was with them, too." Malcolm cursed under his breath. Whoever was behind this wasn't done yet. He pulled out his phone and dialed his old buddy from the military, Lieutenant Bryce Carter. "Bryce, it's Malcolm. I'm at JFK. I need backup. Something's not right here." "Copy that," Bryce replied. "On my way. Sit tight." Malcolm put his phone away and tried to appear casual, but his mind was racing. Why would someone abandon a child with a fake ticket? Why were airport security involved? None of it made sense. Hours passed and the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the terminal. Angela kept Sophie entertained with coloring books, but Malcolm remained tense, his mind analyzing every detail. Suddenly, his phone buzzed, a text from Bryce. "I'm here. Terminal B, I see you. Stay put." Just as Malcolm was about to breathe a sigh of relief, Jaden's grip on his shirt tightened. "Malcolm, they're coming." He turned and saw Darren again, but this time he wasn't alone. 2 men in suits followed him, their faces cold and unforgiving. "Captain Reed," one of them barked, "we're with Homeland Security. Step away from the boy." Malcolm frowned. "Homeland Security, what's your business with him?" The man flashed a badge. "Classified. The boy's a person of interest." Malcolm scoffed, crossing his arms. "Person of interest? He's a child." The man didn't flinch. "We're authorized to take him. Step aside." Malcolm wasn't buying it. Everything about these guys screamed wrong. He knew real agents when he saw them, and these men were nothing but imposters. Bryce appeared from behind, his authoritative presence immediately catching their attention. "Problem here?" Bryce asked, his hand casually resting on his hip where his service pistol was holstered. The imposters hesitated, recognizing they were outmatched. Malcolm smirked. "Looks like you're outnumbered, fellas." One of the men grimaced, whispering something to Darren before they backed off, disappearing into the crowd. Bryce watched them go, his face hard. "You good, Mal?" "No," Malcolm admitted. "Something's real wrong here, and I'm not letting that kid out of my sight." Bryce nodded, understanding without needing more explanation. "We'll get to the bottom of it. But for now, stay alert. This isn't over." As the terminal buzzed around them, Malcolm knew they had just scratched the surface of something much more sinister. He kept his family close, his eyes never leaving the crowd, his instincts sharp and ready. Whatever this was, he wasn't going down without a fight. Bryce and Malcolm stood watch in the crowded terminal, nerves on edge. The danger wasn't over. At any moment, a new threat could arise, another face appearing from the shadows. Jaden clung to Malcolm's side, trembling. Angela held Sophie tightly, scanning the area with worried eyes. Malcolm knelt down, locking eyes with Jaden. "Listen, kid," he said, his voice both firm and gentle. "I promise you, no one's going to take you away. You're safe. Do you understand? Never forget that." Jaden nodded, though fear still lingered in his gaze. Well, silence settled over them for a moment. Bryce finished his call and stepped forward. "FBI's involved now. They're scanning every inch of the terminal. This thing runs deep, Malcolm." Malcolm sighed. "I knew it. Someone's after that kid, and whatever it is, it's big." Angela knelt beside Jaden, pulling out a sketchbook. "Hey, how about we draw something cool?" she suggested with a forced smile. Jaden hesitated, but slowly took the pencil. Anything to distract him from the chaos. Suddenly, the intercom buzzed to life. "Attention, all passengers. Emergency security screening will begin shortly. Please have your IDs ready." Bryce cursed under his breath. "They're using security to flush us out." Malcolm glanced at him, eyes sharp. "We need to move. If we stay, they'll trap us." Bryce nodded, scanning the area. "There's a staff exit on the lower level. Let's go." Angela scooped up Jaden and they moved swiftly through the terminal, Bryce leading the way. People were already lining up for the security check, murmuring in confusion. As they approached the stairs, Malcolm caught sight of a familiar silhouette. A man in a black trench coat, glaring at them with icy eyes. "Stop!" Bryce shouted, raising his gun. The man disappeared into the crowd, but another one appeared, tall, muscular, wearing a headset. "Federal agents, hands up!" Malcolm shot Bryce a knowing glance. "Plan B?" Bryce grinned. "You got it!" They darted down the stairwell, pushing past anyone in their way. A security officer tried to block them, but Bryce flashed his badge. "FBI emergency! Clear the way!" The guard hesitated but stepped aside. Once outside, Bryce pointed to a parked security vehicle. "Get in! Now!" They piled into the car and Malcolm floored the gas pedal, peeling away as sirens echoed behind them. Bryce relayed intel through the radio, his expression tense. "This is escalating fast. The higher-ups are on it." Malcolm gripped the wheel, eyes focused. "They can send whoever they want. I'm not letting that kid go." Hours later, they reached a safe house. Jaden was fast asleep, his tiny body curled up on the couch. Angela kept watch by the window while Malcolm stayed at the door, ever vigilant. Bryce came in with a laptop, face grim. "They're not giving up. Whoever wants this kid has serious power." Malcolm nodded, his jaw clenched. "They'll have to go through me first." Angela sat beside Malcolm, her voice soft but firm. "We need to find out why this kid is so important. If we don't, we're just running blind." Malcolm gave a slight nod. "We'll figure it out. But right now, our priority is keeping him safe." Staring out the window at the quiet street, Malcolm took a deep breath. His life had been full of battles, on the field, in the streets, against those who wanted power at any cost, but nothing compared to protecting this child. Sometimes, doing the right thing means fighting the world, he whispered. and I'll fight them all if I have to. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned for more powerful stories every day.